The silent echo. Nina awoke to a stillness that didn't sit right with her. The house was always quiet this time of night, but tonight something was different. The air felt thick, the kind of stillness that clings to you, wrapping itself around your chest. She lay there, frozen in the dark, when suddenly 3 loud knocks came from the foot of her bed. Thump, thump, thump. She shot up, her heart racing. Her dog, Ginger, a small terrier mix, sat nervously licking her paws at the foot of the bed, as she always did when she was anxious. Nina flicked on her bedside lamp, squinting as the soft glow filled the room. The clock blinked 3 a.m. in bright red numbers. Her eyes darted around, searching the shadows for anything out of place. Nothing. The knocks had been real, she was sure of it. The bed frame had trembled beneath the impact. But now? Just the quiet hum of the night. Nina shook her head, willing herself to believe it was just her imagination, but a sinking feeling twisted in her gut. She grabbed her phone from under her pillow and checked the time again. 3:03 a.m. Her first instinct was to message Sophia, her girlfriend who lived across the country in Oregon. Maybe hearing her voice would make everything feel less strange. Nina typed out a quick message. "You up? Something weird just happened." She stared at the screen, willing it to buzz with a response. Nothing. After a minute, she sighed, tossed the phone back onto the nightstand, and looked down at Ginger. The dog had curled into a ball on the pillow next to her, eyes wide, alert but silent. That alone unnerved Nina. Ginger always barked at the slightest noise, but tonight she seemed too scared to make a sound. Pushing back the uneasy feeling that gnawed at her, Nina laid back down, pulling the covers up to her chin. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but eventually sleep claimed her again. The next morning, the sunlight filtered through the curtains, warming Nina's face as she blinked awake. Ginger was still by her side, now peacefully snoring, as if the previous night's terror hadn't affected her. Nina grabbed her phone again and saw a message from Sophia. "Morning, love. Hope you're okay. I was out cold last night." What happened? Nina hesitated before replying, not sure how to explain the feeling of dread from the night before. Instead, she replied simply, "I'll tell you later. Weird dreams or something." As she got out of bed, the events of the night slowly faded into the background. But deep down, she couldn't shake the nagging thought that whatever had knocked last night wasn't finished. That evening, Nina settled into her couch, flipping aimlessly through TV channels. The uneasiness from the night before still lingered at the back of her mind, though she tried to distract herself. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, she realized. Out of nowhere, her phone buzzed. A message from Sophia. "Had the strangest dream about you last night. There were knocks. 3 of them, loud and steady. And then I saw you standing alone in the dark. It felt so real." Nina's blood ran cold. She read and reread the message, her breath catching in her throat. 3 knocks? The same thing had happened here. What were the odds? "I had 3 knocks at my place last night," Nina quickly replied, fingers trembling over the screen. "At 3 a.m. It felt real too. As she hit send, the room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in. The same 3 knocks across the country in both their lives? She looked around her living room, her skin crawling with a sensation she couldn't place. Before she could think any further, there was a soft knock at the door. Not 3, just 1. She froze, not expecting anyone at this hour. Ginger, who had been dozing on the couch, immediately stood up, ears perked. Nina stood cautiously and approached the door. Her heart hammered in her chest, and she hesitated before opening it. She slowly unlocked the latch and pulled the door open just a crack. No one. The hallway was completely empty. A chill ran down her spine. Something wasn't right. That night, Nina found herself sitting in bed, staring at the clock as it ticked closer to 3 a.m. Her mind raced, replaying the strange events over and over, trying to find an explanation. But no matter how hard she tried to rationalize it, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was reaching out to her, something that wasn't bound by distance or time. When the clock hit 3 a.m., she braced herself. But the minutes ticked by and there was nothing. No knocks, no vibrations, just silence. She exhaled in relief, letting herself relax into the sheets. But just as she started to drift off, the knocks returned. Thump, thump, thump. They were louder this time, more forceful, echoing in the stillness of her bedroom. Nina's heart leapt into her throat as she scrambled to turn on the light. The bed frame trembled, as if something unseen had struck it. She grabbed her phone and quickly texted Sophia. It happened again. Her breath came in short gasps as she listened for any other sound. Ginger let out a low whine, her eyes fixed on the foot of the bed. Nina's pulse quickened as she dared to look in the same direction. There in the darkness, just beyond the reach of the bedside lamp, she saw it. A shadow. Human in shape but wrong, its edges flickered like smoke caught in the wind. Nina blinked, trying to clear her vision, but the shadow remained, standing there motionless. Watching. She reached for Ginger, pulling the dog close to her, her mind racing. What was it? Who was it? And why now? Suddenly her phone buzzed. A message from Sophia. I saw it too. In my dream just now. There was something in the room with you, Nina. Be careful. Nina's breath caught as she slowly lifted her eyes from the phone and looked at the shadow. It hadn't moved, but now it was closer. The 3 knocks echoed once more, sending a ripple through the room. The air turned cold as the shadow loomed larger, filling the space with an overwhelming presence. Nina's heart raced in panic, and she clutched Ginger tightly, her eyes locked on the figure. It wasn't leaving. Nina's grip tightened around Ginger, who let out a soft whimper, her small body trembling in Nina's arms. The shadow seemed to pulse in the dim light, its edges shifting, as though it was trying to form something more solid, something more real. It hovered at the foot of her bed, and though it made no sound, Nina could feel its presence, heavy, oppressive, and undeniable. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body refused to move, frozen in place by a mixture of fear and disbelief. Her phone buzzed again, startling her. She glanced down, hands shaking, and saw another message from Sophia. Nina, it's getting closer. I can feel it. Whatever it is. It's not human. Nina's blood ran cold. Sophia was miles away, yet somehow they were both experiencing this together, as if they were connected to the same force. It was as if the thing in her room was reaching across their distance, pulling both of them into its grasp. The shadow moved again. This time it stepped forward. A slow, deliberate motion. Nina's breath hitched. It was coming toward her. No, she whispered, barely able to speak. Stay away. But it didn't stop. Inch by inch, the darkness crept closer, its form becoming more defined. She could make out the vague shape of a face, twisted, unnatural. And then she heard it. A low whisper, barely audible but unmistakable. Nina. Her name spoken from the void. The sound sent a jolt of terror through her, and finally she found the strength to move. She scrambled backward on the bed, pulling Ginger with her as she pressed herself against the headboard. The shadow was now at the edge of her bed, its form looming over her, dark and menacing. The air around it was ice cold, making her skin prickle with fear. She tried to look away, to tear her eyes from the thing that was so clearly not of this world, but she couldn't. It was as though it had her trapped, forcing her to confront it. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. It's trying to take something from you. Nina's heart pounded. What does it want? She whispered, her voice barely audible. But she knew. Deep down she knew. It wanted her, her soul, her essence, something she couldn't put into words. The shadow reached out, and in that moment the temperature in the room plummeted. Nina could see her breath now, little clouds of panic as she exhaled. The figure was inches away from her, its presence suffocating. Desperate, she closed her eyes, squeezing them shut as tightly as possible. She clutched Ginger, who was shaking uncontrollably. "Go away," she muttered, her voice trembling. "Please just go away." But the knocking returned. Thump, thump, thump. It echoed through the room, louder this time, more insistent. It was as if the entity was demanding to be acknowledged, refusing to leave her in peace. Nina's pulse raced, her heart pounding so loud she thought it might burst from her chest. Just when she thought she couldn't bear it any longer, the knock stopped. The air seemed to still. She opened her eyes cautiously, expecting the shadow to be right in front of her. But it was gone. The room was empty, silent. Nina sat there trembling for what felt like an eternity. Her phone lay beside her, and she glanced at it, half expecting another message from Sophia. There was nothing. The clock read 3:33 a.m. She exhaled shakily, her body still gripped by fear. But something inside her told her it wasn't over. Whatever this was, whatever had been in her room, it would be back. It wasn't finished with her yet. She grabbed her phone and sent a single message to Sophia, her fingers trembling as she typed. "It's gone for now. But I don't think it's over." Sophia's response came quickly, almost as if she had been waiting. "Neither do I. Be careful, Nina. We need to figure out what it wants before it comes back again." Nina put the phone down, her heart still racing. She didn't know what it wanted, but she had a feeling that whatever this thing was, it wouldn't stop until it had her. And next time she might not be able to stop it.